We need to talk about these recent election results. What is clear is that the Democrats have a major problem that no one in their ranks is addressing. Stay with me here, I promise this will make sense. The polls were all wrong again.
The race is close. The polls are razor thin. Republicans want Democrats to panic, to believe Trump can't be beaten. For everyone who remembers 2016, they're getting nervous. Well, get the hell over it. The polls are garbage. Trump is losing his mind and his campaign. Kamala Harris is winning, connecting with Americans, making the case for democracy, doing her part to help end this madness.
The issue that Democrats keep getting wrong time after time is that they just keep picking terrible candidates. And if you stay with me to the end of the video, I promise I'll show you how. Okay, let's have a quick little 2x2 diagram. We can have reasons for voting for this person, reasons for voting against the other person, and vice versa. So vote for Trump, vote against Harris, vote for Harris, vote against Trump. If we see Trump's two columns, we have people who believe that he actually won the election in 2020. Which, by the way, you may not think that many people do, but 70% of Republicans still believe he won in 2020. So this is why you see people talking about a vote for Trump is a vote for democracy. He's got a group of his die-hard borderline cult supporters. He's got the pro-life and Christian bloc, which is a very strongly pro-Trump bloc. Some groups support him for his other opinions, such as being pro-Russia, which would likely lead to an end of the war in Ukraine. The reason they want that is they can stop sending over what has now reached up to $100 billion in military aid, as well as potentially bringing down natural gas and oil prices. But by far, the biggest reason that people are voting Trump is they just want the economy to get better. They just believe it was stronger under Trump than it was under Biden. They associate inflation and the increasing squeeze on normal people on the Biden-Harris administration. Even though it was COVID and stimulus related, but I'm not going to get into that point. All I'm looking for right now is why people voted who, not whether they're correct to believe so. So now we're getting into the reasons of voting against Harris, so let's delve into that right now. As mentioned, people blame rising inflation on the Biden-Harris administration. They see there's struggles with the southern border crisis, there's a fentanyl crisis, there's the Gaza vote as well, people who will not vote Harris and instead vote Green Party's Jill Stein. Some will weirdly vote Trump as well. There are more, but they're generally people who want to go even further left than the Democrats already are, so they're already going to vote blue no matter what. If you want more progressive taxes or quicker green transition, stuff like that. Okay, let's get to the other side now. Why are people in the blue camp? Well, people might not want to vote Trump because of the January 6th riot. Some see that as a red line in Trump not accepting the election results and trying to overthrow the democratically elected government of Joe Biden. Hence, you'll see a lot of people claiming they're fighting for American democracy. They won't vote Trump because of his opinions on abortion and Project 2025 in general. They won't vote Trump because of his economic policies, such as his quite dangerous ideas about tariffs, his deregulation of industries, and his tax cuts to the richest of society and corporations. They won't vote Trump for his international diplomacy, mostly cozying up to the likes of Putin and starting trade wars with China. They won't vote Trump because of his actions on immigration, both legal and illegal. They won't vote for Trump because of his general rhetoric, which is labeled as fascist, and his divisive demeanor.
Certainly, the former president is in the far right area. He's certainly an authoritarian, admires people who are dictators. He has said that. So he certainly falls into the general definition of fascist, for sure.
They won't vote for Trump because he's a convicted felon. They won't vote for Trump because of the number of times he has lied. They won't vote for Trump because of the effect that the Supreme Court supermajority has had on American lives and laws. I could go on, but do you see the issue here? The overwhelming majority of people are voting for Democrats not because they like Kamala Harris, but to keep Trump out of office. They don't like her policies. They just hate his policies with a passion. And the thing is, they used this in 2016 and 2020. And there's only so many times this can work when your policies don't actually bring about the effect that people want.
But let me ask you, what's her greatest achievement or accomplishment?
Her greatest achievement or accomplishment? I'd say her greatest achievement or accomplishment is completely destroying the Republican Party within like 2 weeks of being nominated. Like in the polls, she's just absolutely...
Huh? But let me ask you this, because it's on you. What's her greatest accomplishment as vice president?
As vice president, being the first female all-black president. We've never had that
No,
before.
like, I got that, but like, what's her accomplishment that made people's lives better?
I don't know. Vice presidents don't really do much, to be honest.
Can you name one thing she's done that's good?
No, probably not.
Given that they've worked so closely together in that time, what does the president see as the vice president's biggest achievement during their time in office together?
So look, because they've been partners, those achievements have been done, certainly those historic unprecedented achievements have been done together. I'll say this, the president believes in the vice president leadership, her temperament, her experience, and he has said this himself. One of the proudest decisions that he made in 2020 was selecting her as vice president because he believed that she can go on day one. And you've seen them do that together on day one of this administration. That doesn't change. I'm not going to parse out anything from here. They have been partners. She's been a critical partner for this president for during this term, and will continue to do so. You will see them together on Thursday in Maryland, where they would talk about their next announcement on lowering costs for the American people.
There's not a specific policy achievement. It's a comprehensive whole.
I would say it's a comprehensive whole. Our accomplishments here, the Biden-Harris accomplishments, are the Biden-Harris accomplishments. She's played a role, whether it is being on the floor of the Senate, right, getting really important legislations to pass through, right, or being in the room with the president on trying to figure out how to move forward strategically with the policy or how to make tough decisions on behalf of the American people. She's been there. She has been there. These have been, and we've had, as you know, important moments, historic moments, and she's been a critical partner.
And I'm not saying that policies are at fault here, whether they blame it on COVID or the Chinese economy collapsing or whatever it is. They just haven't been able to bring about the results. Cast back your mind to the fact that she never went through a single primary, neither in 2020 nor 2024. Why were the Democrats expected to be popular? She was never voted to be the leading candidate. The thing is, if you have the overwhelming majority of your voters voting for you because they hate the other candidate, that's actually a bit of an advantage. That means you can have someone who makes up for the other losses you have with other groups. The original people will vote for you no matter who you nominate, so you can be flexible about the others. They tried doing that with Tim Walz, but I don't think that worked to the effect they want. They could bring someone in who's good with white people in rural areas, or someone whose policies is really good with the economy. What they did, which was the worst possible move, is just keep things how they are. Moderate Republicans, undecided voters, and just people who are not in the camp of definitely going to be voting Democrat have the main issue as the economy on their mind. So why on earth would you choose to elect a candidate who has presided over all the policies that both Republicans and the people you want to woo over actually blame you for? The Democrats could have honestly picked out any other candidate other than this guy, and it would have turned out better for them. It's no surprise that most people who thought that the economy was doing badly, which is most people, voted for Republicans. What Harris did was just cement herself with her base that was going to vote for Democrats regardless of who was actually nominated, but was used as a punching bag by the Republican campaign.
President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it.
And you know, they're right. This is why I'm saying that the Democrats fumble this, because when you're coming out of good times, you can keep the candidate going, but when you're coming out of bad times, you get a different candidate. People are unhappy with how things are going, so if you choose to run the same candidate that has been in power, they are going to be punched up and down. You are just handing your opponent a loaded pistol. The Harris campaign also made some crucial errors in terms of their marketing. Their marketing doesn't work when you're ignoring the same people you're actually meant to be wooing over to vote for you. Bringing in Taylor Swift, Beyonce, Cardi B, Eminem, none of these people are going to sway voters who are not going to vote Democrat regardless. Neither were the podcasts or interviews with Howard Stern, Alex Cooper, 60 Minutes, which were all frankly softballs. All it did was just re-establish her hold on liberals and young women, mostly in metropolitan areas. She failed to address the male vote, getting Obama to do speeches, Hillary Clinton to speak to Muslim voters, or Bill Clinton with his disastrous speech in Michigan trying to convince the Arabs that what they're doing in Gaza is actually a good thing and they should vote for it. All of that is not going to attract the demographics that you want to attract. Trump tapped into the male vote, especially the young male vote. He associated himself with the likes of Joe Rogan, Logan Paul, Theo Vaughn, UFC appearances, talked a lot about the economy, which is what men mostly worry about. Just for comparison, whilst the female vote remained pretty much the exact same for Harris as it did for Biden in 2020, the male vote dropped by 11 points.
Well, votes are still pouring in, still being counted, but it's still a little too early to tell exactly which minority will be the scapegoat in this election.
Support from black men dropped by 17 points. For black women, it fell by 5. For Protestants, it fell by 8. Catholics, 17 points. Latinos fell by 29 points, and Latinas dropped by 2. Married men, as well as men with children, were voting for Republicans 59% of the points. Even Asians fell by 32 points. What do you do to piss them off? The largest group are Chinese Americans. How do you push away Asian Americans to someone who talks non-stop about how bad China is? Voters who are voting for the first time ever, as in this is the first election, which represented 8% of the voter base, surprisingly lent towards Republicans by 13 points. Young people are known for being more liberal-leaning, so this is quite surprising for me. This is basically her getting worse with every single demographic. Young, Latino, Black, Asian, men, Christians. If these points don't seem like a lot to you, which they should, they add up a lot, especially when concentrated in strong swing states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, or Arizona. The Latino vote in Pennsylvania fell from a 42-point lead to Biden in 2020 to just a 17-point lead. That's a 25-point drop. And the Latino vote in Michigan dropped by 36 points from an 11-point lead to a 25-point loss. As a side note, if you feel like this video has been insightful, a subscribe would be great. Let's look at another group that Harris pissed off. The Arab American population. Yes, I'm going to get into that. The Arab American vote was especially important in the second biggest swing state, Michigan. There are about 200,000 Arab American voters in a block of about 8 million people, which is about 2.5%. Now, this may not sound like a lot, but just remember that a 1.5% swing in 2020 would have swayed Michigan from Democrat to Republican. This meant that the Arab vote actually posed a serious threat behind it to topple the state. The Arab voters have always been reliably Democrats. However, in the second biggest swing state, they were constantly shunned, denied any Arab or Muslim speakers in the DNC, and then this clip.
President Biden and I have been working every day to bring this conflict. I'm speaking right now, and I value and respect your voice, but I'm speaking right now. On the line in this election, look, everybody has a right to be heard, but right now I am speaking. And the Affordable Care Act. You know what? If you want Donald Trump to win, then say that, otherwise I'm speaking. So yes, we can, and yes, we will. And we will win because together, and this is about all of us, we are fighting for America's future. And we understand the opportunity we have before us to turn the page on the fear. But now I am speaking.
Again, Bill Clinton even tried to give a speech there last week and it backfired really badly.
Well, I got news for them. They were there first. Before there was, their faith existed. They were there. In the time of King David in the southernmost tribes. And all I ask you to do is to keep an open mind. But Kamala Harris has said that she will try to negotiate an end to the violence, an end to the killing, and a new peace process. And that ought to be enough.
And guess what happened? The city of Dearborn, Michigan, the largest Arab population in the entire country, voted overwhelmingly against Harris to protest. They voted both in favor of Jill Stein from the Green Party, who ran on an anti-Gaza genocide ticket, as well as Trump, weirdly. 47% of the people there voted for Trump, 22% voted for Jill Stein, and the remaining voted for Harris. For reference, in 2020, the same county voted 68% in favor of Biden and 30% for Trump. Given that she lost Michigan by a margin of 80,000 votes, or a 0.7% swing, and seeing that Stein got 35,000 votes almost entirely off of the anti-Harris protest vote, that's in addition to those voting Trump in protest against Harris. I think it's all safe to say that she lost Michigan due to the Gaza vote. Also, as a side note, could someone explain to me how 20 million fewer voters voted in this election, yet the voter turnout is almost the exact same? Like, I'm genuinely confused. Have they just not counted all the ballots or something? I know most of them have come in. I swear to God if he goes for a third term. Ultimately, the Democrats put in a candidate that no one voted for, neither in the 2020 primaries nor in the 2024 primaries. They underestimated Trump and picked someone unwinnable in 2016. They lost. They underestimated Trump and picked someone unwinnable in 2020. Almost lost that as well. The sheer amount of hatred against Trump's presidency overcame that, but people like Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren were weirdly polling better with non-Democrats than Joe Biden was, yet they still chose to risk it and choose an establishment president. And let me remind you, it almost went the exact same way Harris's campaign did. To flash your minds back to 2020, just 43,000 votes in just 3 states would have flipped the entire Electoral College to Trump winning again. That represents a 0.03% swing. That's how close it was. The Democrats have been playing fire for what is coming up to almost a decade now at this point. Turned out well for them in 2020 due to chance, but in 2016 and again in 2024, it came back to bite them. And they have finally handed Trump his first popular vote win in 3 presidential elections. That's how bad the candidate was. Should they not change their tactics and accommodate more popular opinions and less disconnected politicians, I don't really see this ending anytime soon. So, what's next for America? Well, my predictions remain in place. America is headed to an all-out civil war. Yes, you heard me. Using all the national statistics I could find, along with the opinions of military and political experts, I predict that whoever wins, the building blocks are in place. A perfect storm is brewing for an all-out civil war in America that could even dissolve the United States as it is. And it's so weird because it's so alarming and no one is talking about this. I highly recommend you check it out if you're interested over here.